starting a little more serious, I'd like to meet a couple of guys who celebrate Star Wars in their own somewhat peculiar way by having devoted their lives to the academic study of Star Wars. In fact, they are the first two to have graduated the new doctoral program in Star Wars at the NYU Film School. And we're pleased to show a brief excerpt. It's a little academic, but we're pleased to show a brief excerpt of the documentary that they have done for their doctoral thesis. So.
What in the
What the? Little help?
Welcome to Orientation Day here on the jolly old Death Star. Now, there are a few things we want to go over with you concerning Lord Vader. First and foremost, he thinks he has the power to strangle us. Truth is, he doesn't. If he ever realized this, he would kill us with his lightsaber. Thus, to keep us safe, we'll all pretend to get strangled. Okay, let's try practice. Commander Winston here will assist me. I'm going to hold out my hand like Lord Vader, and he will pretend to be strangled. Gasping for air, grabs throat. Yes. Eyes back, and he's down. Good show, Commander. Now, two of the floor chiefs will retrieve the corpse, redress him, add a moustache, and he's back to work as Lieutenant Leopold. Vader has the satisfaction of killing someone, and we stay amongst the living. Why, Private Perkins over there has been...
Seth Green and Matt Severus. Thesis, eh? Okay, guys, I gotta ask you, growing up, what was that original connection you had with Star Wars?
Still not a big fan of the growing up thing. Well, I'm sure the same as most people, Star Wars was hugely influential, both from an entertainment and from a creative standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching it every day on HBO. I think...
I was poor, didn't have HBO, yeah. So... We weren't friends then. So
no, he's still poor. He spends all his money on toys.
Who's talking? Seth's got a huge toy collection.
Yeah, I got a couple of things. But, not just the Star Wars show, but how did Robot Chicken come about in the first place? I mean, what's the derivation?
It actually started, I was working at a magazine called Wizard, and I was just a big geek. And I wanted to get an interview with Seth because I'd read in Entertainment Weekly that he was a big toy collector. And I called his publicist. His publicist said, no way.
Well, she asked what the circulation was, and it wasn't on par with People or whatever, so. But then she called me, and she was like, a guy just called from Toy Fair Magazine. I was like, Toy Fair Magazine? They are, so I asked him for the 3 3/4 Old Bob from Black Hole, which was never released in the US on the card. I'm like, where do you go ahead find that?
Isaac from the Love Boat.
Right from the 3 3/4 collection, and then also it was Uncle Jesse from the Dukes of Hazzard. This was in '98, so my aspirations for toys were very specific.
But I sent him 2 out of 3.
And I got a note that said 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Love, Matt. And I was like, oh, let's make a show together. I like that. He's a young go-getter.
So, how did that morph into a TV show, and of all things, stop motion?
Well, over time, Matt and I became friends and socialized a bunch, and then they had a feature in Toy Fair. They were all out photographing toys. They had the Twisted Toy Fair Theater, which was kind of like a panel comic using toys. I'd always been interested in stop motion, and particularly lazy. So when I had the opportunity to do Conan...
Wait a second. Lazy?
Lazy, yeah. And I really like to prepare things in advance. I was never good in school. All my reports were kind of hastily done the night before. This was pre-internet, so... but I wanted to do a short film to bring on Conan, and I thought it'd be funny. I knew Conan had a doll that Hasbro had made, and I had a toy from Austin Powers coming out. I was like, wouldn't it be funny if the two of them save the world, stop motion thing with me and Conan? So I called Matt. I was like, you want to help me make a stop motion thing.
Yeah, so we ended up exploring options while I was in New York and he was in LA, and we did.
No one was going to fund it, so we were going to fund it ourselves. It was like 10 grand to do 2 minutes.
It was back in the day and age before anybody had broadband, and as we were looking around, Sony Digital came to us and asked us if we would want to produce 12 animated shorts for them.
And now they look like kind of pioneers of the medium because, YouTube and any of these other major websites that are like a content portal destination, this is what Sony was trying to do in '99. So they hired us to develop linear content for them, and we produced 12 shorts called Sweet Jay Presents, which is sort of the original pilot premise for Robot Chicken, where it's sketch comedy using toys as the stars.
Right, and as we know, it's been a huge success ever since. But how did the idea of a Star Wars special come about?
It's the first thing we were like, wouldn't it be awesome to do some Star Wars? We had done a couple of sketches, and I think we've told this story once before, but it's still really funny every time. We had put 2 sketches on the air, and then we get a phone call in our office, and the caller ID says, Lucasfilm Limited. And both Matt and I were like,
uh-oh.
You said a little more than that, didn't you?
We did. He's like, let it go to voicemail,
So I actually picked up the phone on Matt and Seth's office, and they're like, guys, Matt and Seth there. I'm like, who's calling? Trying to make sure that it's not legal or something like that. And it turned out that it was Tracy Canobia, who's one of the PR people, asking us if we could post it on
one of the heads of Lucasfilm PR, inexplicably last named Canobio. She's also one of the coolest, nicest, most effective, helpful people you've ever met. And so humble. But yeah, they were like, hey, come tour the Presidio. Come check out Skywalker Ranch. And we were like, no. When do you guys want to come? We'll be there in an hour. So we got to sit with a bunch of people, and they were like, what do you guys want to do? We're trying to figure out a way for us to collaborate. We're like, we've actually laid out a prospectus and a plan. It's a 13-point, it's a PowerPoint presentation. I've actually prepared some graphs and charts for different ways that we can work together. And we sold them on the idea of doing a half-hour Robot Chicken Star Wars special. And then couldn't believe that actually happened in real life. Like, it just didn't seem...
But then it kept going one step further, because
you never know.
Seth's like, maybe we could get George to be in it.
I'm like, what if we just wrote a funny sketch that George was in? Do you think we could talk him into it? And everyone was like, oh, no. But Lynn Hale, who's another name all Star Wars fans would know, because she's a liaison and what do you call it?
She's head of communications, but she's George's, publicity person.
She's hot, too. I don't want to put her on the market. I think she's seeing somebody, but she's kind of smoking
No. Lynn works so hard.
That's true.
All the time.
Maybe I'll claim her for myself. But Lynn...
He's still single, girls. I get a commission for any... Never mind.
They got really awkward.
It always turns to that.
We had written a really funny, something we thought was really funny, which was George on a therapist's couch.
Not too much. We're not supposed to talk about that.
We don't want to talk about that.
Oh, all right. Well, sure. No, so it'll be better in a second, I promise. We wanted to do a bit in the show where George met with a fan, like accidentally interacted with a fan at one of these kind of conventions, because everybody gets so excited and it's such a panic, and we just thought it'd be really funny to see him in that environment. So everybody said no, and then Lynn talked him into it, and he did our show, which was a really surreal experience because we got to direct George.